Welcome to the house of pain, baby.
What's going on, guys? We are here with Coach Roland at the BIGKID Foundation for a Black History Month special. Coach has been playing American football since the age of 9 years old, starting out with the Merton Admirals. Coach, tell us about yourself and how you got into the sport.
Right, so as most of us done, every Sunday we had to go to church.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how it goes. So a point came in my life where I didn't want to go to church. Yeah, and part of it was when I was very, very young, I used to get bullied at school. And then I was having this problem with this guy at church. Anyway, let's fast forward. So one Sunday before we went to church, I was watching a program called Wake Up London.
Yeah.
And they used to go and feature different sports and different activities every week. And this particular week, they done American football. So I was like, that looked good. I saw these big guys, and in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna play this sport, I'm gonna get
Something
big,
for me.
and I'm gonna beat up everyone that was ever given me.
Yeah.
So that's how that started. So it was a case of send a self-addressed envelope. That was the one to know about that. And send a self-addressed envelope away to these people. It was LWT, and they sent me an information pack back. Basically, it had like a basic to the rules, and it showed me the local teams to me.
That's cool.
The closest team to me was the Merton Admirals, which
Right.
was in Mitcham. So I remember one week I went down there. Turned out they were a senior team,
Yeah.
but just being around, like, you know, some of the players when they weren't training, they'd throw a ball with me or whatever, and I ended up becoming like a ball boy during some of their games and what's not.
Yeah.
So that was my earliest entry into American football. So I think the following season they folded, so
wow.
I had to find another team.
Yeah.
So at this point I knew a little bit more. There was the team in Streatham Olympians.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I went there. Didn't really have the greatest experience. They're a really good team. I was new to the game at the time. I was quite small,
Yeah.
so I didn't really get much attention or
You're
anything.
about 10 at this point, right?
Yeah. So
Makes sense.
That's young, boy.
then I must have been 10, 11 at the time. So at the same time they were moving to Crystal Palace. So I carried on training. I carried on going to training. Went to Crystal Palace with them, and at one point, one of the coaches came up to me and he was like, "I'm not sure we're going to have much use for you here."
Oh wow.
And then he suggested a team, Heathrow Jets.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Okay, I'm 11 years old. let me, because this is how it was for me. I was good to do that. Let me make my journey from Tooting, where I lived at the time,
To Heathrow.
to Feltham.
Wow.
So I used to get the train to Clapham Junction, got the train from Clapham Junction to Feltham, walked over to this
By
team.
yourself?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Talk about baptism of fire.
Well, life was kind of different at that
Yeah,
time.
Yeah.
true.
You know what I mean? So it was, for me, it wasn't a thing
Yeah.
at that age to go and do that. But anyway, I went and done that. I went to the Jets. At first, I lied about my age because I saw these guys in kit and I wanted to play kit. So, so I actually got away with training for a little while,
Okay.
kitted football, which probably was one of the best things for me, even though I wasn't at the right age to do it. Eventually, anyway, the season came up and I had to tell them my real age. Yeah, so...
They're like, hold on a minute. this don't add up.
Exactly. So I told them my real age. They're like, okay, you need to play with these guys over here. We played two-touch football.
Okay.
So this is either 88 or the beginning of 89 now.
Mm-hmm.
So started training with those guys. In our first year, playing two-touch football, we went undefeated.
Yeah.
Got to the finals, and the final for us at that time was before the American Bowl at Wembley.
Oh nice.
So that year, Cleveland Browns and Philadelphia Eagles were playing.
Right.
So So, you know, running up to the game, we got to meet the team.
Nice.
What an experience.
Good.
Were you watching American football at this point as well? Or was
Yeah, I was watching because what I missed was another thing that got me into the sport was my brother.
Right.
He took me to the American Bowl in 1986.
Okay.
And this is just after the Bears won the Super Bowl. So the Bears played the Cowboys at Wembley. And that was the first ever game I went to.
Okay.
It's my experience.
So jumping forward again to our game, Eagles, Browns, Wembley. We played our final before the Browns and the Eagles came out, which we won. I think the first year we won it was like 2-0. Like literally a safety dying.
So 2-0, I'm thinking, my brain went quick math. Sorry, what?
Are you playing football?
Like, literally.
Yeah, so like we played Tamworth Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
I think they were called Tamworth Phoenix.
They still are.
Yeah. So we played them, we won that, all good. Second year, we won the thing again, went back to the final. We played Chelmsford, and the Raiders and Saints played that year. So
Wow.
I got to meet them as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned something there about life was like that at that point in time.
Yeah.
And it makes me want to ask, you've played for so many different teams and you've had so much success playing the sport.
Yeah.
What was the impact of American football on your life? I mean, you spoke about, you know, you were going to church and at some point you didn't want to do that anymore and you found yourself essentially playing full contact pretty quickly.
Yeah.
If you look down from when you started to however many years down the line after you've had the experience with the O's and the Knights and the Derby Braves that you're playing uni ball, what impact did that have on your life?
Discipline, man.
Yeah.
Discipline. I grew up around a variety of people, let's say. Some were good for me, some weren't.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the ones who weren't good for me knew what I was doing, and they'd always make sure I went to training, for example. I tend to hang out with older people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even back then, you know, a lot of those guys, you know, we're going here, this ain't for you, go training or go home or whatever it was. You know what I mean? So I really got disciplined early. Obviously, I was disciplined from home, but you know, in your house
And outside.
out,
Yeah.
Two very different
two
things.
different lives. Yeah, exactly. So discipline was instilled real early. Having a team, a group of people around me who didn't necessarily know me, but had my back.
Right.
That I learned when I got to Heathrow. When I got to Heathrow, if I'm honest, I think I may have been the only black player there. But that didn't make a difference to me or to any of my teammates. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like the black guy in my team. These guys legit had my back. Some of them legit have my back now. You know what I mean? I still speak to them. You know what I mean? So I got an extended family through American football real early.
Yeah.
And I think I was lucky.
Do you feel like at Heathrow that was the case from coaching down? Because we hear the stories a lot now whereby black guy or black kid goes to a team and because he's the black kid he must play wide receiver or running back. And
yeah, I mean, my coach, Wes, listen, if there's ever a coach I've got like unlimited love for, Coach Wes.
I love that.
What he done for all of us, it was never a thing of you do this, you go. When I came, they asked me, you know, it's like, where do I want to play? And where I must have been quite early into that team frame of mind, and I was like, well, where do you think I'd be more useful?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At that time, I was mad fast. I did end up playing receiver. But because I knew American football, I knew, okay, it makes sense. The faster players will go and play receiver. So
that makes sense.
initially, I played receiver the first year. The second year, I was growing pretty quickly, so it was still two-touch, but it was a very physical two-touch. You know what I mean? I could really give each other a proper tackle. Yeah. So the following year, I'd got considerably bigger. I played tight end, which, you know, coincidentally, my coach played tight end as well, so I was able to get the best. You know, I played tight end, defensive end that year, and that was that.
You said something about being at Heathrow and you knew they had your back, and I think we can attest to that ourselves, having played, I guess, after you guys have played and being able to share that same brotherhood to this day.
Yeah, yeah.
Whilst you were growing up and playing the sport and, you know, making the connections with the teams and your coaches, who were your inspirations?
Player-wise?
Player-wise, and I guess coach-wise, you'd probably shout out Coach Wes.
Funnily enough, all of my coaches at Heathrow, because they're all really, really, again to this day, really special in my life.
Yeah.
So Coach Wes, Coach Matt, Coach Troy, Coach Brian, you know, Coach Richard, who's no longer with us, but same way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At that time in my life, those guys were my heroes. I was never really into having a hero I couldn't touch.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I had football players that I idolised, but even then, it's like, as I was making the transition to running back, all the running backs I liked were from the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, you know what I mean? So, you know, the Walter Paytons, the Larry Zonkers, those hard-nosed football players, Earl Campbells, kind of built the foundation to what I wanted to be as a running back once I'd started, you know.
And you mentioned running back. I played running back, and I think similar to you, when I started, I actually started at wide receiver before I started to grow initially. Another thing I wanted to ask is, work ethic wise, at what point did you sort of figure out, okay, you've gone from two-touch contact to full-on football? At what point during your career did you start to realize, all right, I need to start training, I need to, you know, up the work ethic, I need to do more so I can sustain this level of play?
I was always doing stuff. I used to run athletics. I
Okay.
used to run for Hercules. I played rugby for Isha.
Wow.
I played basketball. So when American football season was off, I was always doing something else anyway.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So.
And what was it that kept bringing you back to American football, even after trying all of these different sports?
It's American football. It's really hard to explain to someone who doesn't play American.
For real.
Agree.
There is something about being able to jump on the field on Sunday, smash the hell out of each other, and at the end of the day, you're like, yo, what's up?
For real, literally,
There's something special which I can't really describe, and you know, I gotta say, every team I've ever played for, I've been really blessed to have the best teammates, man. And there's, you know, a lot of it is the social aspects, the camaraderie and what's not. But I had a constant supply of people I could learn from. You know what I mean? Like once I'd gone from the Jets, like bypassing Uniball, and I got to the Olympians. And I was playing against the Sasha Contes and the Damian Andersons, and Junior Prices, all who I'd faced against in junior football. You know what I mean? But we were suddenly one team, you know. Jeremy Sims, the Clive Palombos and whatnot, we were suddenly on one team. And, you know, we were on this one team that just couldn't lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got it
It's
down.
just like, they were just people, like, I could literally run through the whole entire Olympians roster from 2000 to about 2007, and there's probably not very many people that I couldn't say, you know, had a major impact on me. You know, most of them did. Most of them were people I wanted to be like, or I learned from them, or they're disciplined like this, or, you know, you can just see it. You can just see it, that the leadership I used to see, especially in, like, you know, coming from an old school background in American football, you know, the leaders on the team are the linebackers. When I got to the Olympians, the leaders on the team really were the linebackers. You know what I mean?
And me, you in that pocket.
Sasha Conte. You know, you had Francis Ortega. Like, anyone I've missed, forgive me. You know what I mean? I was just, I've always been around inspirational players.
Going back to uni quickly then, what was that experience like? Because you mentioned discipline, and everyone that's gone to university knows, especially even if we're playing sports, that discipline can sometimes go out the window. So what was that experience like?
Derby at that time, remember, this is 97 maybe? So even finding opponents wasn't easy. There were a load of unis that were playing, that had teams and whatnot. But when I got there, I was there with a teammate who I'd played at the Jets with as well.
Oh, pretty cool.
So there were two of us there. We knew what we were doing. Everyone else didn't.
Right.
And the worst thing about that is it's the easiest way to pick up injuries.
Yeah.
And, you know how something
Playing Ironman football as well.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So Derby was great. A lot of injuries, man.
Yeah.
A lot of crappy weather and injuries.
Yeah. Did you have a choice to go Derby? If you had a choice, would you have gone to a university that was or had an established American football team?
At the time, just them having an American football team was part of me going there. I didn't even think of the level. It was just, I could go and I can play here while I'm studying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I did go to UEL some years later. They didn't have an American football team.
Yeah.
So at the time, I could pretty much pick where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So I went to University of Surrey. So I had some friends that were there as well. And whatnot, played there, completely different to Derby.
Stingers, right?
Yeah.
Sorry,
that's it.
Stingers, yeah.
They had a bit more organisation, you know what I mean? And just that made the difference.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
You know what I mean? So I think there was a couple of seasons where I'd literally just finished playing for Stingers and went straight to the Olympians.
Right. Yeah. You just kept it going. So there's a
So
lot of that.
I done that, and that took its toll on my body playing uni ball, summer ball,
And then back,
uni ball,
yeah.
and then back. That takes its toll, yeah.
But also, if you want to play and you have those opportunities available, that's what a lot of people did,
Yeah.
like yourself. But also, you mentioned, like, the game has changed so much to the point now we have things like the NFL Academy where guys are getting signed to scholarships stateside. You have things like NFL Flag, which is absolutely on the rise.
Yeah.
And you obviously went into coaching.
Yeah.
So coaching with the Warriors under 19, how did that come about? At what point did you say to yourself, right, I'm going to coach? Because for me, if I coach, I want to get on the pitch and do it myself. So,
Well, I mean, initially, so before I got to the Warriors, in my last year at the Olympians, I was supposed to be coaching. One particular game, lineman broke his hand in warm up.
wow.
I ended up playing tackle that game. I was a coach. But so, although I was coaching, there was always that player inside.
Of course.
So I always had my kit in the car.
You know it. Ready if you need me, coach.
I always had my kit in the car, and like this day, I had my kit in the car. We're now down the lineman. I ended up playing right tackle for the whole game.
Wow.
Never played O-line before in my
Wow.
life. But I know how to
Football,
block.
right?
Yeah, I know how to block. You know what I mean? And yeah, Sean rushed for a lot of yards. You know what I mean? You know, I just happen to be like, when I kind of break down football to new players, it's a game of numbers, it's a game of angles. A lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah.
When I kind of verbally, when you show someone, it's completely different. So I can remember like that day, because the guy I had in front of me was probably about 6'5".
Wow.
Yeah.
He probably had about 2 or 3 stone on me.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But I remember saying to Sean, who was playing running back, I was just like, just watch my shoulders.
Yeah.
If my right shoulder goes, to bounce outside me. If my left shoulder goes, cut
one
inside
inside,
me.
yeah.
He done that, and he just ran
All
up
day.
and down the field all day. So I was just lucky that at that time I've been playing football for so long. I saw it different.
Right.
I was almost Neo-like.
And the Matrix,
You know
let
what I
it all
mean?
down.
You see
Like,
it different. It's just it's just
Yeah.
like numbers. It's
Yeah.
just like I'm standing there. I'm like, oh, he's standing there. I need to do that and then do this at this angle to enable that to happen there or that to go.
yeah.
And that's what football turned into for me
100%.
after a little while. I mean, the coaching thing was natural.
Okay.
It made so much sense for me. I played 33 years in total.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, I played 33
My knees
years
are
in
hurting.
total.
Honestly, just hearing that. 33 years.
Yeah, so it's just like, and like towards the end of my career, football became so easy.
Okay.
It became so easy. Like, obviously, I spent 11 years playing running back.
Yeah.
I played safety for a year, then I dropped down to linebacker, which is the complete opposite of a running back.
Yeah.
I didn't have to see a running back
Yeah.
do much.
Yeah.
Once I saw a running, it's almost like I knew what the lineman was going to do.
You read
That's the
that.
benefit of playing running back.
Yeah,
Because,
exactly.
like, I've been there. I know what you're gonna do.
Yeah,
I'm gonna meet
exactly.
you in the half.
You take 2 steps, and I know what you're going to do. If you're not planting your foot on the second step, you know
Yeah.
he's coming back. You know what I mean? So it became so easy, and then I just wanted to develop myself to a way where I could translate that to people.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I did try that. I did try coaching senior football. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. Was it just too soon, the transition?
No, adults just think they know everything.
Yeah, facts.
I've heard that. Do you know what? I've
Facts.
heard that from so many coaches. I've heard the same thing, which is why they prefer to teach the kids, because they can build
mold
the right
them,
mentality and mold them. Yeah.
The difference is, you know, you'll explain something to a senior player, you'll be halfway through your sentence, and you're getting cut, and now you're being told what you're trying to
Or there's
explain.
an excuse, or
Exactly. Where it's like you train the kids and they're like this.
they want to learn more.
You finish speaking, they're going to ask you a question. But what about if this happens? And that's what I found was so much easier to respond to, so much easier to translate. Generally, the teams with the kids, there are a lot less of them, so you're able to put in more time individually. So I wouldn't just say, well, you have to do so and so and so and so. I could sit there and I could show them,
Demonstrate.
and then I could go through it with them. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. It's just made it so much more.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I feel like you get more from it as well, because you can kind of see the fruits of your labour.
Oh, 100%.
And on that note in particular, you obviously coach with the under-19s.
Yeah.
Looking back at what you've done, looking back at how you can coach these guys, what kind of life and career and even American football advice are you able to pass on to these guys?
To younger players, don't ever be disheartened. Don't ever let someone tell you you can't do it, because going back to my experience at the O's, when, you know, being told, I don't think there's nothing we can do for you here, that is demoralising. That is demoralising. You know, it's quite easy for me to say it now, but when I think about it, and I think about when I got home that day, I was just like, wow, you didn't actually even see anything I could do. You didn't see how, like for me, it was like you didn't see how fast I can run. You didn't see how high I can jump. You didn't see that I can catch and blah, 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 blah. Fortunately, I got my revenge from being sent away. I think about 2 or 3 years later, playoff game against who? Olympians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That day, I rushed my ass off that day.
Imagine.
Yeah, and we won that as well. You know, we lost the final that year, but we got to the final.
Shake the coach's hand at the end as well.
Oh, of course.
Because I know some that don't, bro.
the coach is my friend now.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And he's a coach, you know, he's a coach that as I've got older, I've grown to understand, you know. I understand why he did what he did. Maybe it could have been phrased in a different way, but that happening gave me that drive.
Yeah.
That was in essence, that was someone saying, you can't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why my advice to younger players is always going to begin with, don't let nobody tell you you can't do something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you decide you can and you're prepared to put in the work, you know yourself as a player. You know yourself as a player.
Yeah.
You get out what you put in.
100%.
Simple as that.
100%.
If you're not going to put in, you're not going to get out. Some people, you know, you've got natural ability. That will only last so long.
Yeah.
Keep saying it, man.
I hear it all the time.
Keep
It's true.
saying it, man.
It's
It will
true.
only last so long. You know, I was one of those people where it's just like I had an ability that was, you know, I was just naturally genetically gifted. You know what I mean? But I was lucky that I had some of the best coaches around me. I had some of the best players around me. And, you know, for a long time, football was my life. I wasn't interested in partying and, you know, and girls and...
Yeah.
I bet that a lot,
I
because
got
it's
training.
hard to do that.
Yeah.
You mentioned some of your coaches at the Jets being your inspiration.
Yeah.
What are the sort of skills and ideologies that they pass on to you that you feel like you can or are passing on to the guys that you're coaching now?
It starts off with patience.
Yeah.
It starts off with fundamentals. If you get your fundamentals right, everything else will fall into place. You know what I mean? And my coaches at the Jets were patient with me. They taught me stuff that I'd never even thought my coaches at the Olympians taught me stuff that an extended version of what my Jets.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like my coaches going along. It was always fundamentals. There's always a different aspect of fundamentals. So eventually I was able to get, a good...
Piece them all together and put that into practice, essentially.
There you go. Yeah.
On that note, we could go for hours, but I know we're short on time, so we've got to wrap it up there. But I mean, 33 years of experience, guys, you're not going to get this anywhere else. Coach Roland, appreciate it for taking the time out and chatting to us today. There'll be a lot to take away from that one, but guys, make sure you stay tuned to Big Kids for more, and we'll see you on the next one.